Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
There's much to be learned from dreams. However, must we simply wait for a random dream and content ourselves with what information turns up? Or is dream programming a possibility? Mission Evolution Radio Show is coming to you around the world on the X-Zone TV channel, xztv.ca. With us this hour to explore gaining more power over your dreams is Von Braschler. Vaughn is the author of more than a dozen books on metaphysics and consciousness training. He served on the Omega Institute of Holistic Health in New York and won the gold medal for visionary writing in the COVR Annual Book Awards. Vaughn previously worked as an award-winning journalist before becoming behind the scenes in book publishing and later as a writer. His latest book is entitled Programming Your Lucid Dreams. His website, vonbraschlerwebsite.com. Von, thank you for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Well, thank you, Gwilda. Thank you for the invite.
It's always wonderful having you here. You always have such fun things to talk about. Today it's going to be lucid dreaming and how to program it. So your bio says you were a journalist at one point. What topics did you focus on when you were a journalist?
Oh, I came out in the Watergate Pentagon Papers era, and I thought that everybody in government was on the take and corrupt and to be investigated, and I was a headhunter. I had to leave. It was just too much.
A little depressing, was it?
Well, it was hectic, and I don't think I went around it about it in a focused, objective manner, let's say.
Yeah. So how did you first become interested in metaphysics and consciousness training?
Yeah, well, I was a student of a psychic who lived on Orcas Island in the San Juans off Washington State, called Louis Gittner. And he taught me many things about consciousness training and dreams and such subjects. And then I had a profound experience all in the winter of 1980. I was living on a mountain in Oregon, and not the one that blew up, the one next to it. And I was snowed in for 8 days, and I had a spontaneous, very vivid lucid dream that was profound. And I wanted to repeat it. I wanted to re-enter the dream. I wanted to be able to go there on command and return to that very, very dream, that same dream, with let's say a focused agenda. And I wondered how to do that. And I studied and I talked and I met with Lewis and I read. And it took me to some very ancient books, yoga books, Vedic training. And I went back thousands of years ago to the book called Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And it is a book on consciousness training. And that has been my good book for all these many years, because it does teach you about consciousness and consciousness training and how to apply it. And this is where the mystics of the Eastern science tradition kind of go for this kind of training in consciousness.
So how old is that practice?
I believe it goes back probably 4,000 years or older.
My goodness. And yet do we know any more about consciousness now than they figured out back then?
You know, I don't think so. I mean, I get sometimes a little skeptical, Gwilda, because I look at people who want to talk about things like lucid dreams, and they tend to be talking about material matters. You know, they have a very material reductionist point of view. Everything has to be proven scientifically. It has to be measured in material methods. And they don't believe in consciousness. They believe consciousness is simply an on or off switch for the physical brain. And I maintain that it is not. It is something else.
So is consciousness located in the brain or is it somewhere else?
Oh, I'm going to say it's located everywhere about our being. I won't say it's not located in your brain, but it's not exclusively located in your brain. I believe that consciousness is energized awareness, and it is empowered awareness, and it exists on many levels of our holistic self, that is the body, mind, and spirit. So that it's located on us and about us and all around us. And consciousness is then everywhere. I mean, if you really want to study consciousness, and now physicists are doing this, they're finding that consciousness exists everywhere, that everywhere is energy and awareness. It is as the Hindus would say, it's Shiva and Shakti.
So, how do we know where our consciousness ends and the consciousness of nature, say, for instance, begins?
Thank you. Great question. Boy, you really nail it, Gwilda. This is it. So consciousness is omnipresent. It is the initializer. It is the starting point of all awareness. All living things, therefore, would be conscious. The earth itself is conscious. Rocks are conscious. Trees are conscious. Bees are conscious. Um, Sand fleas are conscious. I mean, where do we stop? Certainly, the hummingbirds that I just finished feeding a few minutes ago are very conscious, very, very aware. It is energized awareness, and so we are all then connected by consciousness, and so becoming aware of that is like a very high level of what in the Eastern tradition they would call Raja Yoga or awareness.
So, is the consciousness, if you take that and you consider it in relationship to the brain, does the brain actually become a receiver and transmitter rather than a generator?
That's it. That's it. So in my system that I've learned, and I guess I have my own personal slant on now lucid dreaming. My approach is that your consciousness, your inner spirit, your consciousness that dwells within, apart from your physical brain, your mind, goes somewhere and has an experience, and then it comes back and it absorbs the message, it internalizes the message, it washes over it like waves of an ocean or the wind, and then it includes the analytical brain in what it knows. It fills it in. It fills it in because the analytical brain, our mind, was never in the dreamscape that we call lucid dreams.
So the mind, we apparently grossly misunderstand it. And if you're working with consciousness and trying to, like you say, you go out and you get some information, come back, try to translate it to the brain, how much is lost because the brain is so linear? How much can it simply not grok, if you will?
Well, that's it. It can't take a lot, so you have to break it down gradually. My technique in coming back from a lucid dream is to let it wash over the body, let the consciousness absorb it, and kind of like review the scenes you've seen without analyzing it, because if you analyze it, then you're activating the physical mind again. Now, there's nothing in the memory that brings us to lucid dreams. Those kind of dreams, those common dreams, are dreams of the analytical mind based on memory. So if you're dreaming of something of which you have no memory, it is not the analytical mind at all. But you come back and you fill it in, and being very linear, it can only absorb to a point. So my technique in dream journaling, to get to the point everybody likes, dream analysis, dream journaling, and all that good stuff. And that's not old, by the way. I mean, the Greeks 5,000 years ago were doing that. Dream analysis, dream journaling. What does the turtle mean? And do I write it down on my papyrus as the Egyptians did? Well, the analytical mind can only absorb it to a point, being linear and not present at the scene. So what you do is you fill it in, you come back from the dream, you say, okay, this is where I've been. I'm going to report to you now. This is what it. Ooh, look here, I'm going to send you some pictures. Ooh, file them away. Ooh. Then you get up and you feel really ready to go. And you sit down at your writing desk and you pull out your dream journal and you write down the basic outline of where you've been, what you've seen, without trying to overanalyze it. You can't overanalyze a lucid dream. Having said that, everyone tries, and it's important that we gain insight of a very personal nature from these very meaningful, impactful dreams we call lucid dreams. But it is very difficult for the analytical mind to do so, having never been present and having no ability to really analyze it.
So, how does consciousness relate to the dreamscape, to dreaming?
Consciousness is what's going to take you there. It is going to be your vehicle. It is your spaceship that's going to take you there. Zoom, it is the boat, the ferry that's going to take you there. And the agenda you set up in your mind's eye, then in programming your lucid dream, becomes a picture like a map, and the consciousness looks at it and says, okay, got it. Boom, we're gone. And it could take you virtually anywhere because your consciousness, I'm just going to throw it out there, your consciousness is not limited by the physical realm. It is free to leave and go anywhere at any time. So the lucid dream is a dreamscape that can be quite exotic, and it can be quite new and different.
So, what's the difference between a lucid dream and your regular garden variety?
Yeah, I like to dream about my garden. You want to talk tomatoes, Gwilda? Okay. Now, the dreams we have when we don't really put much into it, like dream work, and the ancients for thousands of years did this thing called dream work, which was very serious use of dreams for discovery, prophecy, and insight. It was a divine connection. It was a window to the soul. But our common dreams are dreams where we just are not fully rested. We lie down and we are reluctant on some level to really rest and let go.
Oh, Vaughn, I hate to do this. We're going to have to leave this as a cliffhanger because it's time for a station break. Vaughn and I will return very shortly, so don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. Is dream work new? With us this hour discussing programming our dreams is Von Braschler, the author of Programming Your Lucid Dreams. His website, vonbraschlerwebsite.com. Von, we were talking about the difference between lucid dreaming and your garden variety, and you were going to take me out to pick some vegetables, but anyway, you get the idea. What would you mind continuing with that?
Well, lucid dreaming is letting go. It is letting go of your memories, your thoughts, your concerns, all of your worries. It ends the endless chatter, the endless mind loop that goes through our heads and will not shut off. So that many times when we think we're going to sleep and we have a common dream, we're just simply reliving something or playing out a scenario of our concerns about what comes next. So it is the problem of not shutting it off. We're often warned not to listen to music or television or any distracting sounds when we're trying to sleep because we can't really analyze them and it's confusing. Well, this is what happens. Our physical brain is not shut down, is not at rest, and it's just grinding away on these old issues of what happened yesterday, problems of today, and concerns about tomorrow. And it is less aware than when you were fully awake. So you have these kind of weird, twisted dreams of a common nature, and they're just kind of like rehashings of our concerns. It is the brain that hasn't shut down. So this is kind of a sad thing, and it's where people have nightmares or cold sweats at night, and it's very common with children that they have nightmares because they just haven't learned to put the mind to rest. It is very important to say, I'm going to sleep now. My body's going to be at rest, and my mind, my brain is going to be at rest. And then if you want to program lucid dream, this is what you do. You open up your consciousness to come forward at that point and say, look, we've made an agreement. We're going to let our body and our physical mind rest, and our consciousness is going to take us somewhere. And then you program where you want to go. It is a matter then of letting go.
So is programming a process of setting intention?
Yes, it is a matter of setting attention, direction of where you want to go, what you want to do, and what you want to see. It is a journey of discovery, and every journey, you have to plan for it, and you have to prepare for it, and you have to pack for it. You have to have an agenda where I'm going to go and how I'm going to get there, and what I hope to discover, and why am I going, and who's all going to go with me. And there's a lot of planning. And so what I advocate is that people begin to learn to draw pictures inside their head. This is what all the animals do. Animals other than people. I'll put that. We're the one exception. We're just hopelessly in love with words and sounds inside our head. Then this is not true of your dog or your cat or your pet gerbil. They think in terms of pictures, and they think in terms of pictures, and they project thought forms in terms of pictures. And somehow most of us have lost this ability.
So from what you're saying to me, when we are doing a garden variety dream, we're rehashing things that have happened on this level of reality.
Yeah.
And conversely, is lucid dreaming restricted to this reality, or does it dance at the quantum level or something?
It dances at the quantum level. See, they're very connected. Consciousness is a study of energy. Quantum physics is the study of energy. It is also the study of awareness. And quantum physics is the study of awareness. We see now mysticism and science coming together, converging at this time. This is wonderful, wonderful. And people who want to hold on to a material reductionist point of view, this linear thinking about everything, have got to let go. Not everything is concrete and solid and can be put on a scale to weigh. Things are not measurable physically in some sense. We're talking about energy and awareness. These are things that are not physical.
So if we're obsessed with the physical realm and we look for all of our beliefs and our solutions to come from there, it would appear that nothing new particularly can come from that. Is the lucid dreaming a source of inspiration and new information?
Absolutely. It is the ultimate. I think that dream work is the most important thing that people can learn to do. Uh, we know that people have been doing this for at least 5,000 years, going all the way back to the ancient Sumer. The ancient king of Sumer had a dream of a visionary dream of how to build a temple. We have the story of Gilgamesh in his journey through various realms of reality in meeting with divinity. And this is a common theme that goes through Egypt and the dream temples of Egypt and Aristotle and in Hippocrates. They all believe that dreams were a great means of discovery, great discovery. And when we say discovery, this is the spirit within you wanting to know more, wanting insight. But it also can be very practical. I mean, I use lucid dreams to find lost objects. I find lucid dreams to answer questions that I can't resolve in a waking state with my analytical mind, because my consciousness has new eyes, and it is more adventuresome, and it can find things that I physically, in my own memory, don't know how to get there.
So, if indeed lucid dreaming dances with the quantum level, that means they're obviously not bound by time and space.
That's right.
Is that what makes them precognizant?
Absolutely. And it we can dream outside normal space and time. We can go into the past. We can go into the future. We can certainly have dreams of precognition. We know that for many, 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 many years, people have had reliably good dreams of prophecy. And this can only be an example of our consciousness looking forward in time and then coming back and having a conscious memory of it. And then translating that to our analytical mind saying, don't take TWA tomorrow at 2:30,
So let's dance with timelines within this
Yeah,
within this conversation.
please.
So if we are going to have a precognitive dream, how do we know which timeline it's on, and so that we can find the timeline we want to be on?
That's it. So I find that I can draw a dream, and I don't have to be extremely specific. I can just see myself in a certain situation, and my spirit can find the place, because my spirit, being pure energy, being pure awareness and consciousness, my spirit can travel at any point in time and space, and it can find these situations. I don't have to know exactly the place on Earth or not on Earth. I don't need to know specifically the time of day or the year or the month to where I'm going. If I can draw a picture, and I'm not a very good artist, I assure you, but I can draw a picture, and if I'm in the picture and my intent is to go to that situation, my consciousness can take me there. It is like an unerring arrow.
So, say for instance, God forbid, I had some kind of a horrible illness, and I decided to want to navigate to a timeline where
Yeah,
I could move beyond that illness.
that's right.
I set my intent. I don't have to know which timeline.
That's right. And since you're on the subject, there were many people in classical Greece, like Aristotle, Hippocrates, who believed that you could diagnose and heal outside space and time using dreams. I found that to be very true. I mean, I've led groups in actually going to what I call your special healing place and regenerating and rejuvenating oneself, whether physically, emotionally, or spiritually depleted.
Well, if we think of illness as imbalance, okay,
Yeah,
does the dream take you to a place where you can reconnect with your balance?
that's it. And this is going to be different for each person. It's customized, right? I mean, there isn't a special place that's going to be so right for you, but also so right for me. I mean, we're going to be looking for a special place of balance. And our consciousness knows where to find that place. I think it's a matter of trusting your inner self. And haven't we all been taught this forever? Trust your inner guide. That's what
So,
it is.
so how does lucid dreaming relate to, say, trance states like shamanism?
Yeah, thank you. Exactly so. So I find that while I like to study Samadhi mystics of the East, I can also look at shamanic trance work and the vision quest in going outside normal space and time in shamanic visionary work. It is extremely, extremely similar. I think we're talking about like semantic differences. It is basically the same approach, I find. In
You,
fact, one of my teachers, in fact, was called Spotted Dove, and she taught me how to use my dreams to reach my own spirit animal, my spirit guide animal. It was extremely helpful, and that was outside space and time.
so that's rather than using the shamanic trance, you use your dreams.
That's right. So she said, "Well, she said, you can go there in a waking sense." And she said a waking dream. She meant a trance. And then she said, or you can do this in your dreams. She said it's the same thing, but you have to want to go there. You have to want to go there, and you have to picture where you want to go, and you have to have a great intent to go there, and then an all-consuming intent to go there, desire deep within you, and then you will go there. And yeah, it is. Yeah, that's the way trance work operates.
So once again, we're working with setting very clear intent.
That's it. Clear intent. It has to be specific. You can't be. And now I've said it's specific, and before I said, you can be somewhat vague. Your spirit knows where it wants to go, but it needs to know what you want to learn. So you have to become um, you have to know your inner self, because you have to know what your heart's desire is. You have to know what you really need. And if you don't know, you need to have the sense to ask your inner self, your spirit, what it needs and where it wants to go, because it will take you there.
Well, it's time for us to take another station break. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. Are you lucid? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing lucid dreaming is Von Braschler. His website, vonbraschlerwebsite.com. Von, again, as usual, one of the things you said sent me down a rabbit hole.
Oh,
Um, our dreams, particularly our lucid ones, given that they connect with a quantum level, are they restricted to this planet or even this galaxy?
no, absolutely not. And we have to wrap our minds around the idea that there are many levels of reality. Um, and I'm not speaking just of dimensional reality, um, but there are many levels of reality that people tend to call alternate reality, which are really not alternate reality. It's a misnomer. We have to recognize that we have, on a consciousness level, remember we talked about consciousness that resides all around us, within us, and around us. It exists on all parts of our being. And our whole being then includes not only our physical body, but our subtle energy bodies. Now, in the Hindu tradition, for instance, they talk about chakras and subtle bodies. There are many other traditions that speak of it in different ways, but the idea is that we have energy bodies that are non-physical bodies that relate to various aspects of ourselves and reality. And one is an emotional level, or an astral level, if you will, or an etheric level, if you will. Then we have like a causal level of awareness. And then we have like a mental level of awareness. And then there are various higher spiritual bodies. Well, we have at our disposal these subtle energy bodies, which are fully energized and aware. They just need to become activated. So what I'm going to suggest to people is that you're walking around with energy that you're not using. You have energy and awareness that you're not using. And these are your subtle energy bodies, which are fully conscious, fully energized, and give you access to other planes of reality that are not alternate reality, but they're right here, right now. They're just not physical.
So that our physical senses doesn't pick it up doesn't mean our energetic senses don't pick it up. But
Yeah,
we've just been taught to ignore it. Is that
yeah. Now, I'm not in any means a scientific person, but I do know, as many of our viewers surely know, that physicists today are quite aware that there are parallel realities or parallel worlds, if you will, that are very near to us. When I say aware of, that they quite know this, they're quite certain this is true. And they're so close to us as to be not far away that you need to take a, a rocket to get there. They're right here. And it's just that we don't know how to activate them. It is simply a matter of like becoming aware of our connection to these parallel realities and parallel worlds. They're all about us and everywhere.
so? Let's talk a little bit about dream sharing.
Oh,
I find that fascinating. So
yeah.
would you tell us what it is and how it works?
Well, it's a wonderful thing. You can have the same dream, you can set up the same dream as somebody else. And it's called dream sharing. And the idea is that you program that you're going to have a dream at a certain time, a certain night. You're going to embark on it, and when you actually have the dream, and then you compare where you're going to go so that you have an agreement as to where you're going to go and what you're going to see, and then you appear together in the dream. Now, I would ask our viewers to consider whether they've ever talked to somebody who seemed to have the same dream that they had on the same night, because it does happen. You say, well, that's quite a coincidence, you know, but when you become aware of other people sharing the same dreamscape as you, this is quite fascinating. The advantage of this is that you can come back and you can discuss it intelligently, the two of you, because as we mentioned before, the analytical mind has a hard time of sorting it out, and dream analysis becomes a little bit sorted at the end. Well, you come back and you say, well, I was there and I had this dream, and you were there and you had this dream, and we both saw the same thing. And now two people could have this dream if they're very well connected, maybe a spouse or a sister or a brother. It could be a family member. It could be someone very close to you. Um, uh, Twins, twins are very good at shared dreams. It could be a twin flame. Someone very close to you. Um, and then it is possible to have group dreaming too. You have a group having the same dream. It's simply a matter of you set up the dream and you agree that it's going to be similar. This is kind of similar to remote viewing, where everybody agrees to go to a certain place at a certain time. And it's the same principle.
So I've actually experienced. I was in a dorm with a whole bunch of people, right? A whole bunch of other girls, and about 6 or 7 of us. We were all in the same room on different cots, and about 6 or 7 of us had the same dream one night.
Yeah.
Or very similar, very similar. We were like at different angles from it, but it was very, very similar. So proximity can also play a part
Oh,
in
well,
this.
I think that's true. I think proximity. I mean, I've been most successful in setting up shared dreams with someone right next to me. you know, and then of course, you're actually entering the dream at the same time. There's a certain amount of connectedness in doing it that way.
Is it because our fields are so close together?
I believe that could be well the case. Yeah.
I know in a lot of different shamanic studies, they like to get you in close
Yeah.
proximity
Yeah.
because it's easier to get the information that way.
Because you're
Uh,
sharing energy, it's energy field, right?
Gotcha, gotcha. That makes perfect sense. So if we do gain control over our dreams, what are the major advantages?
Well, I mean, I use it in a very practical thing, to find lost objects all the time. Just solving questions when I have something I can't resolve. Sometimes when I'm going to do sort of project and I don't quite know how to go about it, I'll set it up. And very often I'll set it up where I say, I need help. And I'll go to a room and there'll be somebody there helping me. A help center, answer, very nice to have that kind of backup, that you can go to. So actually visiting people, um, um, healing, um, discovery, but most importantly, I think, and historically, people have used lucid dreaming for self-discovery and actually go somewhere and they find something and see something. It is opening your eyes to something new and becoming aware of something that's beyond your ability to actually walk there and see it.
So if you say, for instance, you've got this reoccurring issue, we all know those, usually in
Yeah.
relationship, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to bed and set your intent to be given information about that, can you find things that wouldn't be accessible to you in order to heal the issue?
I think so. You can dial up help. You can actually dial up dream helpers. Yeah, this is something people should think about. Dream helpers, people that'll help you on a dream level. These are people, that on the spirit realm will be there for you. They could be people um, that do this kind of work. You could actually set up a dream where you actually try to resolve a problem with somebody, and imagine a shared dream with somebody you're having a problem with. Can work it out in your dreams. This is extremely good. But the way people have traditionally used dreams is for prophecy, healing, divine connection, and then meaningful discovery. And by meaningful discovery, I mean think of terms of like the hero's journey, where you embark on a great arc of a journey, and then you have great encounters and ups and downs and challenges and gatekeepers, and great moments of distress, and then you come out of this, you emerge from this a greater person from the discovery of it all. So I think that you can actually, every one of us is potentially a hero, right? Every one of us needs to take a hero's journey. And you don't have to leave home to do it. You can do it in your dreams.
Well, it sounds like it could get pretty complex. Can you do a to be continued?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in serious dream work, the kind that we read about, in ancient Rome or Egypt, they would seriously want to go back and continue dreams and do an expansion of dreams. Now, a lot of people say, I want to have that dream again. Well, do you want to have that same dream again? Was it just entertaining or was it impactful and meaningful? And if it was meaningful, then I think you should like expand on it. You should like push it farther and farther, expansions to your dreams. So I think that the idea of recurring dreams can be expanding on the dreams. So you're pushing it. Now, I have dreams, situations that I've continued for years, and there are people that I know in my dreams that I just don't know in this physical reality, but they're out there somewhere. Maybe they're dream friends. We're sharing our dreams. I know that a lot of people will have a dream of something called the upper room. And the upper room is where you go, and there's all people hearing some great, profound message, but everybody gets a different take on it. They all hear something different. It's usually telepathic. And this is called the upper room. And this is a common dream. This is a common lucid dream. And people are when they have this dream of the upper room, they will never forget it. It's very meaningful, and that you learn something on a very individual level that even though there were others there, perhaps that was just for you, and yeah, I think that's a good use of a lucid dream.
Well, it's time for us to take another station break. Please stay with us. Vaughn and I are going to continue to explore the fascinating dreamscape. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Consider the possibility. It's not just what you're dreaming or even where you're dreaming, but when. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Von Braschler. His website, vonbraschlerwebsite.com. So, Von, we talked about lucid dreaming being not only connected to the quantum field, but outside of time and space. If you're trying to program a dream, that means that there's a lot of things you have to program into it, isn't it? Like when, where, how, what, who?
That's it. I always say to keep drawing and drawing and drawing and until you think you have all the details, and you really can't be detail oriented enough. You keep adding details because that all becomes part of your focused intent of where you're setting up a dream. Very specific. Be very specific in how you want to dream. Now, you might not get all of that because you know what? Spirit might say, this is out. You're not ready for this. When I started this out, I had a lot of things that were rejected. They were just flat out rejected. Spirit rejected it. When I had a dream helper, the dream helper would say, I'm not taking you there. You're not ready. But yeah, what I love about dream work is that it's, impactful, meaningful. You literally can go anywhere, alternate realities. But I love that you can dream travel. You can travel outside of time and space. I just love that.
Yeah, it's freeing after we've been stuck in these physical bodies, believing that this is all there is, isn't it?
Well, it can be very meaningful to a person to go back and discover not only how things were as a child, and because you're the adult in the room now watching yourself go through a childhood experience. But you can also go quite a bit back in time to find out who you were before. This is, for a lot of people, very significant, and it kind of like isn't who you are now, but it also is an indicator of how you got to where you are now. Because the spirit knows everything about you, the past, the future, and the dreams can take you there.
Are we the spirit we seek, though, Vaughn? Is the spirit us?
The spirit is us. Yeah.
Mhm. So you talk about spirit helpers, and dreams are typically full of allegories and metaphors.
Yeah.
Are these actual beings, or are they an allegory or a metaphor?
Yes and no.
Yes and yes.
Yes and no. Certainly, to say that something is a certain form, and this gets back to materialism, is a bit confusing. We always tend to give everything a shape, right? I mean, people are still wondering about Sasquatch, right? They're wondering about crop circles, right? And you could say 6 different explanations, and maybe all 6 of them are correct. Um, it is all in a sense archetypal.
Our
So
reality is archetypal, if you want to put
it
it that
is,
way, right?
it is
Yeah.
like, so therefore it's allegorical. So all of these things take on, are seen through our ability to see anything. Okay. But you know, it is, you're asking me what is reality. I have no idea. But it is going to be what you see, and probably more. But if we don't get out there and discover, we're not going to ever know.
How does lucid dreaming change the dreamer? If you consistently work with it, does it change your concept of what's possible? Does it change your concept of reality? Does it change your concept of yourself?
It shows you that how many possibilities there are, and how infinite are the possibilities of our own personal evolution. We are not simply little people occupying this little space and time. We're much more than that, but this is all we see, because this is where our five senses are taking readings. So that's all we're taking, are these readings from these five senses. We need to activate more. We need to activate our consciousness on all our subtle energy body levels. It
Because
is
our five senses, just even what they sense is pretty darn limited, as in comparison to all
limited,
the
but
bandwidths that
is,
are out there.
yeah. So to get to the point, it's a matter of like tuning out the five senses. So I never ever advocate somebody setting up a dream with incense or music or anything that's going to stimulate the five physical senses. You need to actually tune those off, tune those out, you know, disconnect for a while, just for a moment. You know, it's okay. You'll get to smell the roses later on. But in its place is conscious awareness. And your awareness is a different way of looking at things.
So, how much, we are all, most all of us are anchored to a TV set or a tablet or our cell phones or social media. How is that impacting our ability to let go and have a lucid dream? Is it
It,
programming
it,
us? I guess is what I'm
it
asking.
is programming us, and it's a little bit sad. And yeah, I'm guilty of this as much as anyone is. But we are all a product of everything that we've seen and heard and experienced, because this is impacting our memories. Now, this is why it's so very important when we go into a lucid dream to shut down our physical brain, you know, just for a moment. Just put it on idle, and tuning out all thoughts and words and conjecture. It is very important that it absolutely, you know, go, you know, if you can't turn it off, put it on neutral. I always say, like, you don't just tune down the volume of the TV, you go behind and you pull the cord. That is it. So people who have learned to meditate might have an easier time with this. You know, I think one alternative to that would be to learn to do self hypnosis. And this is a great way to train for people who have trouble with meditation.
So, if we, again, are able to cross time and space, is it possible to go to our future selves and get some advice on did that go well for us, or should I look at doing it a different way?
I personally found that very difficult. I've been able to go into the future, but I have not been able to see myself in the future. And I suspect it's because I wouldn't recognize myself. Don't know. I don't know. I go in the past and find myself, but I can't go in the future and find myself. I'm not saying it's not possible. I don't I don't like to advise someone to try something that I've never tried myself, but I wouldn't rule it out. I know you can go in the future. I definitely know you can go to the future in a dream, and it will take you there, and you'll see things. My goodness, shamanic travelers have done this for years, going forward to see what's going to impact their people.
So, if a person is trained in remote viewing, how does that differ from lucid dreaming?
I don't think it really does. And people look at me like, you're daft, man, but I don't think it does. I think it's just simply a matter of learning to let go and then disconnect and then take your consciousness and then leave. And your conscious awareness is leaving and going somewhere and seeing something. Now, does it really go anywhere? I don't know that there's even such a thing as space. I don't. I'm really, suspicious that our whole idea of thinking about time and space is so twisted that we have it all wrong. I think it's all kind of like all on a the end of a pin, actually. I don't think you necessarily are going anywhere. I think you're like your conscious awareness certainly is going somewhere, and it's going beyond your present um, frame of reference in terms of your analytical memory, but it's going somewhere new.
So, if you were at this point, I'm sure a lot of our audience says, "Okay, so how do I work this?" Okay, so what's your advice for someone if they're just starting out and want to learn
Yeah.
how to lucid dream and even tell if they're lucid dreaming?
Okay. The important thing is go into a very quiet moment of introspection. I would call this meditation, but that freaks some people out. And you get very quiet and you think to yourself, okay, self, I am going to set up a dream and I'm going to program a dream and then I'm going to go in my dream. I'm going to allow myself to go in the dream. I'm going to consciously then put my physical body to rest. And I begin with my toes and my legs, my chest and my arms and all the way to the top of my ears and my head. And then I put my physical brain to sleep, knowing that it will be just fine, be just fine. It's going to be rested. And truly, you do come back from a lucid dream fully rested. This is nice. And it'll be the most restful night you've ever had. And then you have to actually begin to draw a picture of where you want to go, what you want to see, what you want to learn. And you don't have to be a great artist because you're going to be able to interpret what you've drawn. You don't need someone to explain to you. It means something to you, and that's most important. And then you tuck that into the back of your consciousness. And then you're looking now into a blank picture because you've now suspended all analytical thought, and it's quiet in there and it's dark in there. And then you bring forward your drawing, and now it's in front of your mind's eye, and you're looking at it, and you're picturing exactly where it is. And this then becomes a roadmap to take you there. And you allow yourself to go. It's quite that simple.
Mm,
But it takes a little bit of practice.
sounds like it might.
And if all else fails, uh, visualize someone to come and help you.
Mm.
This whole thing, is really a matter of creative visualization.
Well, we are out of time, Vaughn.
Oh,
Unfortunately, we always have so much fun together,
sorry.
and time just flies. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Gwilda.
My pleasure. Our guest this hour has been Von Braschler. Von is the author of more than a dozen books on metaphysics and consciousness training. His latest, Programming Your Lucid Dreams. To find out more about Von, where you can find his many books and all he has to offer, visit his website, vonbraschlerwebsite.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy past archived episodes, visit www.missionevolution.org. But most importantly, please be sure to join us again right here on the X-Zone TV channel, xztv.ca, where this mission will continue, bringing information, resources, and support to an evolving world.